Hello, my Teaserking family. Welcome to our, let's talk a little bit college and then a little pro. But I have something to show you first. Just 1 second. So you know me, I always got to stick a little economics in when we have the chance. So there's two major things. The first is this on China. I can't read it upside down. China's doomed property sector, 50 million flats empty. What they're basically doing is blowing up all these high buildings, which is how they live in China. They don't live on a street like here. They live on high rises. And they built them and they're all empty. And the builders can't afford to finish them. And they're just blowing them up. Not a good sign there. Now, the second is Japan. The Japan yen collapses. Now, this is what I've been talking about. Japan yen collapse forces nation to reopen for travelers. So they're trying to sell it as, oh, well, you can come here and get a good exchange rate on your money. Seems pretty stupid once you just fix it. So it's, again, they don't understand what inflation is. They don't understand what's going on. China thinks if we blow up these apartment houses, we won't go into a recession. The hell does that have to do with anything? Japan doesn't get, we got to raise interest rates. They'll come out with a new currency, but they got to blow it up. It's 144 to $1. Basically what happens is you go into debt and your dollar, you print it and it becomes worth less and less and less till there's no value. Would you want a yen at 144 to 1? Hell no. Why would you want it? It's worthless. It's toilet paper. It's this. This is what the yen is. This is what the dollar is. This is what the euro is. This is what they all fucking are, is a piece of paper. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's why I keep forcing gold and silver into the conversation, is because that's the only way out is gold and silver. Anyway, so there you go. China in trouble. You got Japan broke out. Germany broke out. Italy broke out. England broke out. The list goes on and on. And then, so what do? They're buying U.S. dollars as safe haven. Oh, let me get into U.S. dollars. Like, dudes, we're printing that more than you are. And the U.S. dollar is going to do the same thing as the yen just did, because it's the base. But the black swan event's going to be Saudi Arabia saying, we're going to sell oil to the Chinese and the Russians. We don't care. We're away from the U.S. because Biden pissed them off. I believe on purpose, because I believe the Chinese is really running, or the Germans are running America, and we're trying to do the Nazi Fourth Reich and destroy the world, and they're doing a pretty damn good job of it. If you think it through as part of the plan, it makes sense. Why are all these countries this stupid? I mean, I got a master's in this, and okay, I understand it, but you tell me nobody in government, nobody can also understand this? Me and 5 other people, like, seriously, I got to get a new job and make a little bit more money then. So I just wanted to show you that. Again, COMEX is broken. It's paper, dollar, gold. It's not real. The real price is much, much higher. It's going to reset soon. I'm sure the Japan thing is the trigger. Germany, England, it's all the trigger. Here we go. Buy your gold and silver. And as I say, you can't lose. It's a lock, like Georgia going under. It's a freaking lock, because if you keep printing, it's like getting a Topps baseball card. It has no value. They print them. They print 1 million Barry Sanders second-year cards worth $1 because they printed too many of them. But if you get a limited one, then you get big value. Like the score rookie is worth 1,800. They printed that pretty good, but at least it has some value. The 89 score set, that's a real good set, pretty limited, nice pictures and stuff like that. Anyway, so that's how you get away from this, which is coming, is to do that. And believe me, it's Japan, it's China, it's Germany, it's Italy, it's England. What else is left? You got Asia, you got Europe, Africa's going down. Zimbabwe, I showed you they got a gold coin. What's left? Brazil, Argentina's already gone, and then it leaves Russia, who was smart enough to back their ruble by gold, and it's the only currency worth anything. All right, so I don't want to get too much economics, but I do want to show you things that are critical to, as much as we are with the football, that's much more important, is to save yourself, is for me to rescue and save you. That's the most important. And I do it by making us money in football, but we'll make a whole lot of money if you buy silver and gold, because as the dollar weeds out, then we'll have this money worth something, or your Mantle cards or your Brady cards or your Jordan cards, whatever it is, you need an asset. And Bitcoin's not an asset. Neither is money. It's paper. So you don't want to be in that. Housing's hard because interest rates will go up, which is going to force the values to drop. Paintings would be good, but it's hard to get rid of. Diamonds, jewelry, always good. Again, I'm not sure how you get rid of it. Sell them on eBay, or you got to go to a jeweler. I knew I was when I started. Let's see. But this is a different one. This is just, I had trouble on it. Let me see. Blue. Oh, okay, I think we're okay. So it's not like sometimes my modem goes, and that's why I got to end the show abruptly. It's something different. So I think I'm on. Anyway, so again, this is education you need. This is saving you, helping you. And it's just because a lot of people don't have a clue. They're not taught this. I got lucky that I was in a program that did teach Austrian economics, and as soon as I learned it, it changed my life around. Through week 2 of college football, 13-2 week. I'll run through all the games. So Louisville, UCF. I don't trust UCF. I don't trust Louisville, so I'm learning. Louisville beat them 20-14. Okay, so I learned UCF's not that good. I try to learn in each game. Boise, New Mexico, 31-14. Boise should have, well, they covered the teaser, but New Mexico got a kickoff return at the end. So New Mexico really doesn't score. Boise's not as good as usual. South Carolina, Arkansas, my first lock. As soon as I saw the spread, I saw Arkansas. I go until they play South Carolina because I don't like Radler from Oklahoma. And boom, I get it. And boom, it's 7. And boom, I lock it on Monday. It ends up at 9.5. They win easy 44-30. They were way up. South Car came back a little bit, and Arkansas put them away. I was a little surprised they scored 30, but Arkansas, I like their quarterback. I like their coach. Their defense is pretty good. Again, I'm internet issues. North Carolina, Georgia State. Again, North Carolina, an over team. They score a lot. They're a good scoring team. I'll get into the grades of the teams as long as it allows me shortly, as soon as I can run through that. So it didn't surprise me. I had the over in the game, 64, over against Wake Forest, over against Miami of Florida, maybe even over against Duke. It's just they don't have defense, but they got a good offense. Georgia State, who are they? They are a good offensive team. UTSA Army, again, I think it was Don or Dennis wanted to play this. I think it was Dennis. He wanted to play like an 18 to me. It was, how about Army under? And I go, absolutely not. Army, the week earlier went over, and here they play a 41-38. They are getting offense. Their quarterback threw for 200 yards. When's the last time you seen Army throw for 200 yards? They're using the Air Force system. So they're still good running, but they usually have good defense, but they have trouble they got Frank Harris, UTSA, who's an excellent team, an A team. So I couldn't take the teaser 54 covers. Southern Miss Miami. I was hemming and hawing about this, going, all right, how good is Southern Miss? And I couldn't really find out. It was like they had played a Division II team the first week. So I don't know. I'm like, so I go read my book, Southern Miss for the year, and fairly decent defense. I noticed they were sacking him. Before the half, it was like 10-7, and I'm like, sack. What the fuck? They kept sacking Van Dyke. Finally, in the second half, they got pissed off, and they lit it up. And I was shocked I won because it was 26. I was laying 20. I'm in trouble at 10-7 or 13. It was like 10-7 at the half. Southern Miss isn't an over. If Southern Miss was Wake Forest, this would have been over. Now, if Miami's going to do all the scoring, I might as well lay the 20. So that's how I come up with, do I take the over or do I take the thing? Well, I'm just having an internet problem. Now I'm back. So that's how I do it. Is if I can't really pick the winner, then it's an over-under team or it's a dog. Wake Forest 13 over Vandy. They win by 20, 45-24. Hartman did play, but he was hurt or whatever was wrong. He's fine now. Obviously, he lights up Vandy, Division II team. And you're like, well, maybe Vandy's better. Well, no, now this puts you in more of a concept that Vandy's not. They're still pretty much a Z, maybe a W, and they go against Wake, and Wake with Hartman's going to light you out. See, they're an over team. The over-under was 65. We actually got to 70, but I didn't play the game, but I was like, let's see Hartman. But Wake Forest at 13 was the joke. Northwestern, I talked Nick out of it. He says, let's take Northwestern, lane 10, and I'm like, you can't. See, they beat Nebraska. So here we have Duke. How good's Duke? Well, they beat Temple. So see, you don't learn anything when Duke beats Temple 30-0. All you learn is Temple sucks. You don't learn how good Duke is. Now you learn that Duke's not too bad, 31-23. They have kind of an option quarterback who runs, but he's a pretty good thrower. See, my thought process on these running quarterbacks, KJ Jefferson of Arkansas, if you can throw the ball accurately and run a little, I like you. You're going to make me money. You're a good quarterback. If you can't throw it accurately, but you just want to be a runner, Lamar Jackson, I don't like you because the defense is faster than you. And if you can't throw, it's going to show. So this quarterback from Duke's not bad. Northwestern, 31-23. Lane 10 I thought was too much. My line was 3. And Duke wins. So, again, there was no strength in this game. Northwestern isn't that strong. Duke's not that weak. And now, I'm not laying 10 with Northwestern at this point. Ohio State, Arkansas. Ohio State looked bad against Notre Dame. Continues to look bad. Beating Arkansas State 45-12. Over-under was 68. I didn't think Arkansas was score enough to get me to 68. I was right. It was a 57. But I didn't like Ohio State laying 44 because they looked so bad against Notre Dame. So this was a no play. I mean, it's hard to take Arkansas State and 50 points against Ohio State. It's just too much of a talent level. So you either play Ohio State or you don't play it. There was a few games like that this week where the spread was too high. The Michigan game was the same way. They're laying 52 and they win by 56 they win by 46. So they don't cover a late, the late touchdown by Hawaii against the fourth stringers. That's what happens. You get up 50 points. The coach pulls everybody. They don't keep going. So that's what makes it difficult. The one loser, and I apologize, the free pick, Alabama -20 over Texas. What the hell happened? All of a sudden, Texas, I believe that the TCU coach, Goldsmith, is their defensive coordinator. Well, let's check that. I thought I heard it. I watch all these games on the 20-minute. Matthew loves football. So let's see, Texas. I'm going to go to the Big 12. I want to go to the Southeast Conference, but they're in the Big 12. So let's see Texas's defensive coordinator. Forgive me while I get to it. Oak State, TCU, Texas. The D coordinator is somewhere on the page. Who the fuck is it? No, it's Pete Kowatowski. I don't know what the hell they were talking about. They made a comment about Gary Penn, the great coach at TCU, but it clearly wasn't that. It's something else. So how does Texas stay with Alabama? How does Alabama only score 20? Over under 63 didn't come close. I thought about that, and I didn't think Texas would score enough. And I thought Alabama's defense would shut them down. Texas should have won the game. I heard complaints about when he got that it was a safety. It didn't look like a safety. He landed on the guy. He threw it out. Now, could the ref have called in the grasp and he's down? Should have, if it wasn't Alabama. If this was, Illinois, he'd have been down in the grass. But for Alabama, he's not. I think it shows how weak Alabama is. They had no offense. Holding Texas to 19, the quarterback got hurt. We'll have to keep an eye on him. So I'd say Alabama played terrible, looks terrible. We'll have to see going forward. Missouri, K-State laying 7, killed them 40-12. K-State's a very good team. They got the Nebraska quarterback, Martinez, but they have Deuce Vaughn as running backs. That gives them balance. They always have a good defense. Missouri's strictly an offensive team. That's why I like defense over offense. Defense can shut you down. They can put pressure on the quarterback. That's why it's hard to play the Arkansas States against Ohio State or against Alabama, because they can put pressure on you and you're fucked, where a team in your level won't put the same pressure on you. But that's what K-State did. Penn State, Ohio. Penn State was minus 28. I didn't like Ohio's an over. I thought it'd go over 54, and it got there. They 46-10. I didn't think it would go over that way, but Penn State. That's the thing. That's the beauty of betting an over with two over teams. We know an over team can score and has no defense, so we know they're going to be able to keep scoring. And you just want it to be competitive. Once it's not competitive, if Penn State's up 35-0, it doesn't get over because Penn State stops. And then, so Ohio put up enough points that Penn State kept going and 46-10. So they did get the over, which isn't high, a 54 with two over teams. So that was a good one. Central Michigan, South Alabama. I am very proud of this game. At first glance, I said, Central Michigan's 5.5. They played Oklahoma State tough. And then the over-under was 57. And I said, well, if South Alabama is an offensive team, I'll go over because I know Central Michigan is going to score. I mean, they put up 44 on Oak State, who's got a much better defense. And then I see South Alabama. I read up on them. They're a good defensive team. They don't have a quarterback. I go, well, I don't know what to do. With a good defensive team, they can probably shut Central down. So that prohibits me from taking Central. I want Central I want them against Akron, a weak defensive team. Then they can light it up. Not against a strong. I never want an over team against a strong defensive team. So like if they're playing Clemson, I am not fucking with that game. That's either Clemson or under. So I laid away from Central, and then I didn't play the over because I didn't know that South Alabama was going to light it up. And it goes 38-24 South Alabama, so I avoided losing with Central. And then it actually goes to 62, and the over was good. So Central is pretty much an over team, and they're going to play here against an under team. But now is South Alabama an under team? Probably not. But Central doesn't have the defense to really know how strong South Alabama is. So it's like poker. Sometimes you lay the hand down is as good as winning the hand. So I didn't lose $100 because the guy re-raised me. So by not losing the 100, is as good as winning 100. So by not playing Central is as good as not. So that's what I try to do is I look at the games and then I be careful, like give me a reason not to play it. And then there's better games to play. Like Arkansas was a no-brainer. As soon as I saw that, the other lock, USC, was a no-brainer. Baylor was a no-brainer. Those were locks the minute I saw the spreads. This one, I was able to talk myself out of it. So instead of losing into the locks, we went on the locks, and that's really what we're trying to do. Western Michigan, Ball State, 2 even teams. Western was a road favorite. Ball State, I think, had played Tennessee or UCLA. I'm still confused. Just a second. Tennessee played Ball State. So you don't learn anything, but Tennessee killed them. But here Ball State is at home, a home dog, to a decent Western team, but they're nothing special, and it's 30-29. Ball State wins. Because they're evens, I didn't go over or under, and I'm not going to trust Ball State at home. That's not where you want to play. I don't know them well enough to say, Western can't be a road favorite. So you learn that Western's not that strong and Ball State's not that bad in conference. But you can't fuck with them against the Tennessee or UCLA and all that. Notre Dame and Marshall. God, I love this game. Notre Dame goes from 18 to 20. Can anybody explain why anybody would bet on Notre Dame after the way they looked against Ohio State with this quarterback who's terrible, that they're going to beat? Now, Marshall is a pretty good team and an over team. So, Marshall's going to score. The only problem with Marshall is their great running back, Ali, is out on personal issues or whatever. Doesn't even play. If he played, they'd have won 40-21. So I'm sitting here looking at it. Over under 49. I'm thinking, I'll go under. Notre Dame's an under team this year. They won't score. Pretty good defense. 20 points. I like Marshall in 26, and then they win the game straight out. And that's going to go a long way with Marshall, so keep that in mind. They go to Notre Dame and just crush them. Notre Dame, I think, stinks this year. I think they're a lousy team. I don't like their coach. These rah-rah coaches don't know what the hell they're doing. That's why they rah-rah. Chuck Noll, what did he say? No emotion. You guys play without the emotion. Just play it. Hey, Derek, is USC a no-brainer against Fresno State? USC, Fresno, you're looking at it the wrong way. I got to adjust your mind when I get there. App State A&M, another game that I took the dog in. Why? App State plays North Carolina, puts up 60 points. A&M is not that much different than North Carolina. Maybe a little more defense. I don't know. But App State's going to play with you. They're a good, balanced offense and defense. They're an A team. Again, getting 19 points. What the fuck? 25 points. Way too much. And then they go ahead. I didn't think they were going to actually win, but 17-14. A&M's another one of these probably under teams. They have lousy quarterbacks usually. Kelly Mond, he's not Minnesota. He's nothing. So, again, that's it. Lock number 2, Wisconsin, Washington State. I'm watching Washington State, Idaho, and I brought this up in our conversation last week. And I love Washington State's defense. Even though it was Idaho, and Idaho's not bad, they just shut them down. That defense looked incredible. It was all over the field. You couldn't get first downs on them. So the spread's 17, which is I can't understand Wisconsin beating Washington State by 17, but the over-under starts at 47.5. I lock it. It goes up to 49.5. I'm like, who the fuck can possibly bet this game over? Are you kidding me? They don't see. Here's the difference why we win and the rest of these idiots lose. I watched Washington State. I realize how strong they are on the defense. We know Wisconsin, all they do is run and play defense. They're like betting on Navy. I mean, they're not going to score, and they're going to play really strong defense. So you're not getting points in this game. And with Washington State's defense, you're not getting anything. So this was like Georgia, Alabama. You ain't going to score in this game. And why the line's going up is because I'm figuring out there's all these math idiots out there, and they're looking at Washington State from last year. I don't. I kind of use it a little bit, but when I see the Idaho game last week and I see how strong their defense is, now I go and now they play Wisconsin. Oh, this is perfect. This is under City, and it's 31. Under 49. So we teased that really was under 53 and a half, and they get a 31. It wasn't even close. They scored 17-14, Wisconsin. I'm glad they got the win, but I didn't care. Just keep it low. It was like 7 and a half, and then that was it. That's exactly, we're looking at an under team in Wisconsin, and really Washington State's probably an under team this year because their defense, they're probably the only team besides Utah who can beat USC, because if they play this defense against USC, USC is going to have a hard time. Derek, Notre Dame gets one more chance. I think they beat Cal. Really? Texas played a good game against Alabama. Do you think they lay an egg against UTSA? Well, the quarterback, I don't know if he's playing or not for Texas. And I don't know that I'd call it laying an egg. I think UTSA is a very good team. They beat Army, and they should have beat Houston. So they took them to overtime. UTSA is a very good team with a very good quarterback. Since McCormick got drafted by the Raiders and they were sitting him out for the year, they are running a little bit. But UTSA is probably, I'm going to say, a better team than Texas. And I think Texas, I think they played their best game and couldn't beat kind of a weak Alabama team. Alabama, I'm telling you, that kid, I don't like the quarterback. It's too much system. They get in against a fast defensive team like Texas. They couldn't. They weren't wide open. Now against Utah State, 55-0. That's the problem. You think Alabama 55-0 over Utah State's going to do that every week? Normally they do, but this was at Texas, and they were really fired up. Heartbreaking loss. Notre Dame, Cal, I got to read up on that a little bit more, but it depends what the line is. But I don't know what you're watching that you're all excited about Notre Dame. They get beat by Marshall. Okay, Ohio State's one thing. They lost at home to Marshall, and I think their quarterback's out this week. Not that he's any good anyway. So I don't know. I have to say the line is. We'll get to that. Right now we're looking at last week. Tennessee Pitt. I know Tennessee scores a ton. Pitt with Slovis, I don't mind. Should be an easy over. Over under 63 is 57. It's 20. It's like 24-17 at the half or something. It's like I'm at 40 already. It's halftime. Last play of the half, Slovis, they throw him on the ground. He gets a concussion. He's out. Okay, their backup was it wasn't even a high school quarterback. He was terrible. Where do they get this guy from, and then why are they using him? You just lost the game you should have won because your backup quarterback sucked. So Tennessee, so I need overtime. I get the 27-all, the 54. Then I need Tennessee to get the ball first, which they do because they'll score the touchdown. Pitt, I can't count on. And then because if Pitt got it and didn't score, Tennessee would kick a field goal and I'd lose. This way, Tennessee got the touchdown, which gave me the 61, which was beat the 59. So that made it the over a W. And then I didn't care what Pitt did once I got the over. But it should have been over in the third quarter if Slovis doesn't get hurt. Memphis and the Navy, I did have a question about taking Memphis. And yes, that was a good call by whoever did that. Memphis went, my line was 10. They were laying 4, and they win 37-13. They have a very good quarterback and passing system as usual. And Navy looks pretty bad. They lost to Delaware, and now they lose to Memphis. They're not scoring. They don't really have a good defense. I think it depends who they play. If they play an over, you bet against them. If they play another weak type of team, you just bet it under. I don't think you can bet Navy at all. Maryland, Charlotte. I gave out a warning on Charlotte that Reynolds wasn't probably not playing. Therefore, they're not going to stay in. It was 27, and Maryland wins 56-21. They win by 35. They cover over under 77, covers the 69, but without their quarterback, I couldn't play it over. That was a perfect over. Had Reynolds started and was healthy, that was a perfect over, and then we would have been an easy winner. So you got to watch. If there's an injury, stay away from it. Colorado Air Force, much the better team. Colorado stinks. A Z team. Air Force is an A team, and Air Force runs it down your throat. They got like 500 yards rushing. It's incredible. Laying 17, they usually win 41-10. Over under of only 50. They did it by themselves, basically. A 51, but if you go over, 50 down to 44. Again, you can't count on Colorado to score. Air Force has a great defense. So when Air Force plays Navy, we're taking Air Force all day. But that's the problem, right? That's where you're like, do I play over under? Well, Colorado doesn't score. So then we got to play Air Force because Air Force will score a lot. And then you got to worry about the over under because the other team won't score for you. Baylor, BYU. This is a lock the minute I saw it. I have Baylor -7, the Teaserking line. And it comes out BYU -2.5, goes to 3.5. Thank you very much. I got Baylor and 9. When are you going to get Baylor and 9 against anybody? Maybe not Georgia, because I don't think I want to fuck with Georgia this year. But anybody else, Baylor and 9 against the BYU team, goes to overtime at 20-20, and BYU wins 26-20, which is fine. But we were never worried. Baylor, it went to overtime. BYU never really had a big lead on them. I didn't care about the over-under at 53. That's a game where you got Baylor and 9, and that's all you look. You don't look at over-under. You don't fuck with that. Here's the game. Baylor's the better team, getting points. That's it. Just like Arkansas. That's it. You're done. You don't look any further when you get that. This is what I'm trying to do in the pros, but I can't find a Baylor in the pros. Oregon State, Fresno State. I got Oregon State laying 7 with my dual balanced offense and Chase Nolan, and Fresno State's a 2-point favorite. I go ahead. I didn't lock it. I should have, but I take Fresno State and 7-8 points, and they win 35-32. I don't look at the over-under because I'm so confident Oregon State's going to win with the points that's as far as I go. Why worry about over-unders? You've got your dog. Boom. So the first thing I'm looking for is A against Z. Tennessee against Ball State. Second thing I'm looking for, live dog. Baylor getting points from BYU. Oregon State getting points from. Those are the first 2 steps of picking. Then I'm looking Washington State, Wisconsin. That's an under. What's my points bet? 49. Fuck that. That's an under. That's a lock. That's what you're looking at your overs, your West Virginia or your Pitt and Tennessee, and then we got our over Arizona and Mississippi State, and that's the next one I'm getting to. So Mississippi State, Arizona, I catch Arizona, and they kill San Diego State, and we all know that they're a strong defensive team. They put up 38 on them. Again, nobody's looking at that. They're looking at last year's Arizona. Well, you got Jake Delora from Washington State, now their quarterback. They got a good quarterback. And when you have a good quarterback, a good passing quarterback, you definitely are going to score. Mississippi State, Mike Leach, we know they're going to score. So the line's 10. I'm not crazy about playing that. Had it been 7, maybe Mississippi. But I thought Arizona would be a good game. It starts at 63 or so. So I'm 56. I'm 55.5, and then freaking line goes down to 57 over under, and I can't imagine who's playing this game under. And it ends 56. Mississippi State missed 2 field goals. Arizona had a goal line that they keep throwing instead of that's why you need the running. When you're inside that 5, you need to run it, and that's the good teams can run it in, and that's what you need to do. So I got it by a half. It shouldn't have been. They missed 2 extra points, so I should have won it easier. Derek, Marshall, not a bad team. Notre Dame had a tough game against Ohio State. A good team. This week is make or break. All right. Derek, how do you? Alabama is not good team. I'm not quite sure. Really, Texas was ready. All the elements were good. They almost kicked Bama's ass. Well, if Alabama was a good team, they'd have beat them more than 20-19. If you watch all the Texas-Oklahoma games for the last 10 years, they score 60 points in those. They're all like 90-point games. Oklahoma puts up 50 points on them. So for Alabama to only score 20 and need a field goal of 50 yards at the end to win because they're losing, and they almost get a sack in the safety, I am trying to watch what's really going on. That's the comment I'm making. How is Alabama not a good team? Well, a really good team would have beat Texas by 30. A team that wins 20-19 on the last play is not a really good team. No, they're a real good team against Utah State, but you don't want to see them against Georgia this year. I'm not sure they can handle. Well, Florida they can handle. LSU, I don't know what he's doing there. Mississippi State's going to give him problems. Arkansas. Now, if Alabama beats Arkansas, I'll say they're a good team. I'm not sure they can. Sean, hi, Sean. Watch out for Sunbelt East. Georgia Southern offense looked great. Proud of them over team. We'll take a look. I like they beat Nebraska, but as you can see, Nebraska's not that good. So, yes, I keep an eye on all the teams, all the conferences. Derek, how do you say Bama is not good? I just told you. Baylor is the pro this year. Baylor in the pro this year is the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think Minnesota would beat Baylor. I don't think so. You got to have balance. They do have Cook. Where did Cook's brother go to? The guy from Georgia. That guy was better than Cook. But I don't know where nobody wants to draft a running back. Nobody wants to be able to score inside the red zone running the ball. So I don't know that they are. I think maybe Kansas City could be, maybe San Francisco. Well, they can't win with Lance. Maybe Tampa Bay's Baylor, Kansas City. There's no Georgia, unfortunately. I wish there was. That's what I'm missing in the pros. I always had the Niners and Jimmy Johnson and the Lawrence Taylor and the 84 Bears and the 70 Steelers. I got nobody. There is no Georgia in the freaking pros. It's unbelievable. Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. What's that? That's your Final Four? I don't think Bama gets there. I'm not sure Ohio State gets there. You're leaving out Baylor or Oak State. You're leaving out UCLA, the winner there. And I don't know what kind of defense Miami has. And then definitely Georgia. And maybe Arkansas gets there. Arkansas is very talented. Anyway, let me finish with this. Houston, Texas Tech, another big pick. Houston, again, as the dog against Texas Tech. Texas Tech, decent offense, as we know. Houston's a very good team this year, very well coached. That's why when UTSA lost to them, they lost to a really good team. Now UTSA beat another really good team in Alabama or in Army. So now you're asking me about UTSA Texas, and I'm like, well, all right, let's get that line. Where is it? I wrote the lines down yesterday. I'm sure they changed. Texas is 11 over UTSA. I'll take UTSA in 17 all day in that game. All right. So Houston, Texas Tech, very easy. Take the dog, especially getting Houston in 10. It's 33-30, I think, in overtime. Thought about taking the over of 62, but again, Houston in 10s like Baylor and like Oregon State. It's a give me. You see that, you stop right there. Okay, there's my dog. Illinois 4 over Virginia. Again, an unknown. Illinois beats Wyoming, loses to Indiana. Now they're at home against Virginia. How good's Virginia? Not very good. Virginia's coach, Bronco Mendenhall, was BYU's coach, leaves. So now they're kind of panicking, getting a new coach and getting familiar and a new quarterback. So Virginia's probably down this year. Illinois, they're just playing Wisconsin football. Bielema, they're going to run and play defense. Probably a very good under. And when they get Iowa and when they get Minnesota and when they get Wisconsin, those are all give me 50s. They're all lock unders. Vegas and Cal. So to answer your question, Cal beats them 20-14. You've got question of Cal against somebody, Notre Dame, I think. Make or break. So let's see. Is that who we got? Notre Dame, Cal. Let's see. Notre Dame 10 over Cal. And they don't have a quarterback. They don't have a coach. Cal, I love Justin Wilcox. He doesn't have much of an offense. He's a great defensive coach. I will tell you that's probably going to be an underpick for me. Notre Dame, Cal. I got an over-under of 41, and I got it circled as an under 47, and they won't even get close to that. Notre Dame, good defense, no offense, especially if the quarterback's out. Unless the backup quarterback, and this happens a lot, is better than the starter, and you look at the coach like, what the fuck? Why didn't you start this guy? He's much better than the starter. Van Dyke, Rising, that's where I get it from. And you just sit there and you scratch your head about how stupid these coaches really are. So Cal beats Vegas 20-14. Vegas, they beat a Division II team. They put up a 50 on them. Then they get to reality against Cal, and they put up 14. So they were an explosive team against Division II. Now they're not. But Cal only putting up 20 makes that under look really attractive for Notre Dame. Cook brother fumbled first play, touched the ball for Buffalo, now in the doghouse. I'd get him out of the doghouse. What did he run into Aaron Donald? I mean, okay, he had a fumble. How many interceptions does Josh Allen throw? They need Cook. If he's on Buffalo, that was a great pick because they need a running back. Iowa State, Iowa. This was I should have locked it. I can't believe I didn't lock this game. Obviously an under. So 7 points on South Dakota State, and they didn't even score a touchdown. It was a field goal and 2 safeties. I've never seen that before. And Iowa State, very, great defense with this coach. And that was a very, 10-7 Iowa State. It didn't matter who won. I had it under 46 or 40 down to 46. I had it under very easy, 2 strong unders. It would have been a lock if this was like 45. It would have definitely been a lock, but it was like 40, and I think it ended at 39. So, again, the line does play into the lock. The higher, like the Georgia's 50 lines, it's a lock because it's 50 points, and then IT's at 6. And we go Georgia under 56, and no pro team's going to get to 56 on Georgia. Akron, Michigan State. Again, Akron, the Z team. Now here's the difference. They're 34-point favorites. They win 52-0. Michigan playing a Z team is 52-point favorites. You're laying 18 more points? What the hell is that all about? So that's where you get into the reward, the risk and the reward. I have less risk with Michigan State laying 34 than Michigan at 52. So I take Michigan State down to 28. It's covered at half. They win 52-0, which is what you would expect from Michigan State. They're not an explosive Tennessee type of team, but certainly all they got to do is beat Akron by 28. This is why we bet against Z teams. We would have preferred a bigger offensive team, but there you go. Michigan State easy. Michigan 56-10 lane 52. They don't cover. They win by 46. even in the teaser, well, if you bet it at 50, you win with 44. What do? They take everybody down, and then a late touchdown by Hawaii. But that's why you can't fuck with 50 points. You get up 50-0, you got to take your players out. And now you're playing third stringers, and they're not going to hold a 50-point lead because the other team's pissed off, even though they're Hawaii. So Hawaii looks like Timmy Chang's in way over his head. I thought he might do better. Let's wait and see. And he looks terrible. I mean, he got polished by Vanderbilt. Now he's polished by Michigan. We'll be betting against Hawaii a lot. And they got Fresno State and a couple of strong teams in that Mountain West. Boise. Anyway, Middle Tennessee and Colorado State. Colorado State sucks. They're both W teams. We don't really know Middle Tennessee. They played Division II. And Middle Tennessee, I heard on the radio somebody thought Middle Tennessee was the worst team. And I'm like, who the fuck? How the fuck do you know that? What are you talking about? They haven't played anybody yet. And here they go, and they beat Colorado State 34-19. So I wonder if the guy's saying, Colorado State's the worst team. This is why you don't listen to the morons on the radio, because they don't know what they're talking about, but they influence you. The line went from 7-12 on Colorado State. Who the fuck's betting Colorado State? Give me more than 2. And here, Middle Tennessee, Cunningham's the quarterback. They always throw the ball. Good coach, and they win 34-19. So to play a favorite, you've got to know they've got to be the better team. All right. When you get a Baylor as a dog, they're the better team. Trust me. But Houston's the better team getting points. But when you get to maybe Miami, Southern Miss, okay, Miami's clearly the better team there. We got that favorite. But you can't say Colorado State's going to win the game more or less laying 12. So you got to be careful with that. My only other losers, UAB Liberty. I am totally shocked when I saw this score. Liberty 21, UAB 14. UAB is a very strong team, very balanced, like 240 rushing and passing. I was shocked. 21-14, a few turnovers. I don't know what happened to them, but they're not an A team if they go to Liberty and lose. Liberty, I like Hugh Freeze, Liberty's coach, but I'm shocked by this score. Kansas, West Virginia. Now we learned about Kansas. They put up a 60 against Division II the first week. This quarterback started the last 4 games and lit it up last year. Now let's see what he is. Well, West Virginia, who Pitt just beat 38-31 or whatever, 55-42. Now, this is a very bizarre game. It's tied at 42. Going to overtime. Kansas scores is now 49-42. So West Virginia tries to tie the game up, throws an interception. The idiot runs it all the way back for a touchdown. What the hell are you doing running it back for a touchdown? Now, if I needed it for the over, I would be all happy. But fortunately, it didn't matter. I didn't play the game. But you got to be kidding. So West Virginia is 13 over Kansas. Kansas, okay, takes them to overtime at 42. We take away Kansas as an over team. They can score. West Virginia is a fairly good defensive team, and they don't have a defense. So Kansas is purely an over against Oklahoma, against Texas Tech, against they'll put it up on Oak State and Baylor a little bit, and then TCU. So Kansas is now an over team, but believe me, their over here went from 58 to 60. I guarantee you they do not over Kansas properly. They will never put them 70, which is probably where they belong. Let's say this, without overtime, it's 42 all, it's 84 with West Virginia. They're putting up 40 points. So this is where we're going to really make money on Vegas. They will not adjust Kansas's over. Trust me. Let's see. What are they even playing this week? Let's see. Kansas. Yeah, okay. They're playing Houston. Houston's a 10-point favorite, but I look at the over-under, it's 62. Did they adjust for Kansas? Hell no. And they're playing Houston. They can score. I guarantee you I am betting pretty heavily over on that game because they are not. This game should be a 75. It's a 62. In Teaser World, it's a 56. I love that pick. Houston, Kansas, go over because Kansas has now proven it. They scored 50 on nobody. Now they scored, let's call it 49. They don't run the interception back. They put up 50 on West Virginia, and they're playing Houston. Houston's a good team, but they're not much better than West Virginia. Derek, I agree. Might catch Texas after Alabama playing Alabama breaks up your players. Well, there used to be a thing when you played Notre Dame, you get all sky high, and the next week you'd lose or you wouldn't play bad. You wouldn't play well. And I'm sure Texas laid it all out. And I always go back to the 74 AFC game, Miami and Oakland, when Stabler hit Charles Davis on the miracle catch in the end zone. And then they had to play Pitt the next week. And as I watch it now, there was no way they were going to beat Pitt. Now, Pitt was a great team, but you just beat Miami. You're capable of beating Pitt. You didn't have a chance because you had nothing left. You couldn't get that emotional against Pittsburgh as you just did beating Miami. And the way you beat them with 8 seconds left, you're throwing it on a fourth down, your Stabler's getting nailed, and he completes it for a touchdown. I guarantee that was it. You're so high, there's no way in the world you're going to beat Pittsburgh the next week. So the way Texas lost to Alabama, Alabama's not sky high because they're pissed off. And believe me, they're going through hell this week for barely having to need a 50-yard field goal at the end of the game. Texas will be a little bit flat. I think Sarkisian was the offensive coordinator for Alabama, knew how to play him. So he's got that going for him. I know how to play him. I know what to look for. And so he did. And that led into it. But he's not going to know what to do with Frank Harris and UTSA. Anyway, Old Dominion, East Carolina. East Carolina laid 13. They win 39-21. East Carolina, Holler, not a bad quarterback. Apparently, decent defense. I have them as an E team. So they score 25, give up 25 roughly. 39-21 is a 60. So Old Dominion, how good are they? This is the problem. How good's Old Dominion, right? They did beat Virginia Tech, so they're not horrible. But you got to see, like, I have them as an under team, so they don't have much offense. So East Car put up a lot of points on an under team is a good sign. Texas State and Florida International. I have Florida International as an E. Texas State is a W. I have Texas State laying 3. They were laying 13, and Texas State kills them 41-12. I have note Florida International, no run, and I have Texas State as a balanced offense. When I mean no run is they don't run the ball, they just throw it. So Florida International plays a team that puts pressure on the quarterback. They're screwed because they can't run. Texas State, is that what they do? I don't know, but there you go. So Texas State, not too bad. Florida International is not very good. Toledo and Umass, as I pointed out, Umass was a Z team, Toledo an A team. They're only laying 28, which is even better than Michigan State's 32, much better than Michigan's 52. And they win 55-10, probably the easiest Z bet of the week because all they got to do is win by 22 and they win by 45. So UMass, horrible team. Akron, horrible team. Hawaii, horrible team. It's just the spread. You can't lay 50. You can lay 28 all day, and that's what you got. So that was a pretty good play. Kentucky and Florida. I love Kentucky. This is just like Baylor. Florida, 6-point favorite. It was 4.5. I bet it, and then it went to 6. Had Kentucky all the way. I am not sold on Richardson. I'm sorry. I don't see what everybody sees, and I see everything. I don't see him. I would rather have Arkansas's quarterback or Kentucky's quarterback than this Richardson. Being an athlete does not make you a football player. It's like Bob Hayes. It's like these fast guys as wide receivers. Skeets Nehemiah on the Niners, Bob Hayes on the Cowboys. Just because you're fast doesn't make you a football player. I'd rather have Lynn Swan. Maybe not as fast as Bob Hayes, but you know what? You throw it anywhere near him, he's going to jump and catch it and catch all these touchdowns. Kentucky just lit them up, getting 12, never in doubt, and that's exactly the better team won, and Kentucky was the better team. So they're probably the only team that can give Georgia a problem will be Kentucky in that league. But I don't think they can. It's all Georgia. They're on a league by themselves. Syracuse and Connecticut, another Z team in 4, killed Louisville. Now they kill Connecticut 48-14. Easy win. Syracuse is looking good again against Connecticut. So Connecticut, are they still a Z team? They had beaten, they played Utah State pretty good, and then they beat Coastal Connecticut, who's like Division 5. They're like step up from a junior high team. And then they get into a real game with Syracuse, and Syracuse that beats the hell out of them. So you got to understand Syracuse. This is a win for them because they got to play Clemson and Miami and Wake Forest, North Carolina State. So for them to get Connecticut, they aren't fucking around. They're not going to lose to Connecticut. All right. So Northern Illinois and Tulsa. This is probably an even game. Probably taking Northern Illinois as the dog, and Tulsa wins 38-35 over 63. Got the 73. This was an over game. Northern Illinois is like a B, and Tulsa's an over team, and that's what you got. A B team will score, and Tulsa 38-35. So it's pretty much. Can you trust Tulsa to win? Northern Illinois usually wins the MAC. They're very well coached. Good quarterback. Lombardi from Michigan State. So there you go. It's fine. A lot of these portal quarterbacks aren't very good. That's why they're portaling is because they got their second, third stringers. But in this case, no. Oklahoma, Kent State. Oklahoma laid 33. I said it's too much. I like Kent State. Kent State gets the W. 33-3. I did think Kent State would score more, but I'm noticing in their stats they're not as balanced as last year. They don't have a running attack. The quarterback is their runner. Whenever that happens, when he's Josh Allen, he's the quarterback and the running back, you got problems. So 33-3, over 72. I did not play. I thought it was a little bit high. I didn't think Oklahoma would score that much, and they didn't. They only got 33. I didn't know Kent State would not score. So we'll see how strong Oklahoma's defense is, but it showed a good sign. Holding Kent State to the 3 is very good for Oklahoma. Eastern Michigan, Lafayette lost Levi Lewis, and the coach went to Florida. So what do you got? They're laying 11. They win 49-21. I got them as an under team, but now I don't. And then Eastern, the MAC has all these teams in the MAC have terrible defenses. They all are giving up 30 points. So now, granted, they're playing UCLA and Tennessee, but still, Lafayette's not Tennessee or UCLA, and it's 49-21. So not a lot of defense being played in the MAC, which is good for us. With Kent and Central Michigan should light it up there. But like Eastern, not a very good team. They're going to kill them because they can't stop them. That's because they have no defense. So you got to be careful. But this is good because if Eastern plays, Michigan or Ohio State and gives up 50 points, it skews their defense. How bad it really is their defense. But when they do it to Lou Lafayette, now they got a pretty bad defense. Auburn, 24 over San Jose State. I don't know San Jose State this year. Sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they're not. This year I have them as a W. I don't know how good Auburn is. Bo Nix is gone. They got a new coach, new quarterback. They beat them 24-16. Doesn't tell me a whole lot. Tells me Auburn's probably not that good. San Jose State, I don't know. It's a weird going to Auburn. The over-under was only 48, and it was a low-scoring game. I think Auburn probably has a pretty good defense. San Jose State, we're not sure if they have a good defense or just a bad offense. Arizona State, Oak State. Again, Oak State, monster team, laying a touchdown, except for Baylor and maybe Oklahoma. You got to play them. They're an excellent team. Sanders, excellent quarterback. That's what you got. USC Stanford. This was lock number 5. I saw this line. I have USC as a 21-point favorite over Stanford. And they win by 13, but they were up like 50. And I see the spread at 9. I made my bet automatically right then. If you looked at USC's offense, even though they played Rice, they are Oklahoma. And I tried to tell you that in our show. I said, this is now Oklahoma. The way that offense ran, nobody's beating it. Maybe Washington State, maybe Utah. I don't know if Utah can handle it. It's unbelievable. And they just go up and down the field. Stanford had the strangest offense. They were using the old Baylor. The quarterback gives the ball in the breadbasket of the running back and holds it there for like 10 seconds. They're watching the safety commit. Well, I would bait them. I would bring the safety up and then bring another cornerback over, but they wouldn't see it. And then he'd throw, and I'd pick it off every time. That's how I would play it. USC, easy winner, 41-28. Wasn't even that close. USC was up like 38-0 at half. 38-7. Stanford moved the ball on them and had 2 turnovers inside the 5. So this could have been a little closer. Had it gotten closer, USC would have marched down and scored again. So that's why you can't really go, well, one more. But 41. But USC, real deal. I couldn't believe the 9 points. Stanford's not that strong. Beautiful lock there. That and the Arkansas lock was just unbelievable. Professor, you got your wish. Dallas lost Prescott now. You will see Will Grier. If I see Will Grier, I'm betting Dallas because Will Grier is an outstanding quarterback. Now, he needs time, but he is a strong – he was at Florida, then he went to West Virginia, and I won so many overs with Will Grier at West Virginia. He is very good. I'm sure he's better than Prescott. He's obviously better than Bush. I don't like Prescott. He doesn't really read coverages well, and he's not very accurate. So I don't mind Will Grier. I think give him a game or two to get his feet wet and get used to it. But he's very – it was like what I said with Kellen Moore. The Lions never played him. He goes to Dallas, puts up 450 yards in a game, and then he breaks his ankle. But he proved my point. He was very good. He was great at Boise. Like, what do you want? The guy wins 4 titles at Boise and beats strong teams, beats Oklahoma, and you're sitting there, you don't play him. Why? He's left-handed? Like, what the fuck? So is Ken Stabler. By the way, Jackson threw 3 touchdowns in the NFL game. I know it was the Jet. That's fine. How many interceptions did he throw? Joe Burrow, 4 picks, but still had a chance to. Well, he did win. The guy couldn't make the extra point. That's why I like Joe Burrow. When the game gets on the line, what does he do? He hits Chase and should have won the game if they just make an extra point. That's my point. That's fine. Let's see what Jackson does. I don't know. I'm not looking at pros right now, but. He has his moments. I'm not saying he won't, but I'd rather have Burrow than Jackson all day long. I'd be rising all day long. God, my system is all screwed up. So USC easy lock over Stanford. I knew they were going to light them up. Georgia Southern, Nebraska. We talked about it. Sean had Georgia Southern. It's surprising and it's not. Nebraska's not very good. I didn't understand the line 23, but I didn't know Georgia Southern well enough. They played a Division II team. I still don't know how good Georgia Southern is. All I know is Nebraska sucks. So now it negates the Northwestern game because they beat Northwestern beat them, but now Northwestern lost to Duke. So now was Northwestern that good or Nebraska's terrible? And now what's Nebraska? Did they name the new coach for Nebraska? I don't know. Hawaii, Michigan, we talked about. BC, Virginia Tech. I know somebody like BC. I don't know what their problem is. Jerkovich, the quarterback from Notre Dame, played pretty well last year, got injured. VTech, I don't know. They lost to Old Dominion. Are they any good, or is BC just really bad? I don't know. Those are teams that they're just enigmas to me. I just stay away from them. And the last game, New Mexico State. New Mexico State's a Z, and they only lost 20-13, and the spread was only 17. So Utah, this is where I ring the alarm against Z teams. You cannot just bet against the Z team unless you have an over 20s. That's what they did. 20. That's the problem with just nakedly betting against the Z team. You got to have a Miami, a Wake Forest, a UCLA. Then they blow them out. But if you have a weak team against them, look at Utah State, Connecticut. Utah State apparently sucks. Barely beat them. So watch GSU. Well, that'll give me an insight. UAB's was a pretty good team, although they just lost. But what is Georgia Southern now? They were an option running team like Army. I think they're a passing team now. I think they got a new coach, and they're passing it like Georgia State. I don't know. Derek, love Purdue over lost to a good Penn State team. Well, Syracuse, I think they did beat somebody. They beat Louisville 24-7, and then I just talked about them. And they killed Connecticut, which doesn't really matter, but they beat Louisville 24-7, so they did it. Purdue, Syracuse and over. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. I don't love Purdue unless what's the point spread if they're getting a lot of points, but I found better games than that. Let's see. It's at Syracuse. I don't love Purdue at all. That's a Syracuse play. What's the over-under? Over-under 58. Probably more of an over. I would probably go more over or Syracuse than Purdue. Losing close to Penn State at home. This game's at Syracuse, and Purdue's much better on the grass at home than they are on the road, but I don't love Purdue. Florida State should beat Louisville. Louisville is a quarterback that Florida State will contain. Florida State wins. Again, they look good against LSU, but LSU had the running quarterback out who sucked and didn't give Boutte the ball. So I don't know. I do like Florida State's quarterback, Louisville. When Lamar was at Louisville, he beat Florida State 62-0. Then he got shut out by Clemson 62-0, but he did beat Florida State. So they do have a problem with the running quarterbacks, or at least they did. Anyway, let me go through the rankings now. So I'm going to be a spreadsheet for 2 minutes. I don't want my doc in Google. I want my doc in. So what I'm going to do is go through each conference. All right, so we'll go right down the list, and I'll do it fast. So the 8 teams in the Big 12, Oklahoma, Texas, Baylor. Oak State I have as an over because it's the Central Michigan game. Iowa State under, and then Kansas is now an over, scoring 55 and giving up 26. Also go through balance. So Oklahoma's balanced, 265 and 197. Baylor, we know, is balanced, 226, 206. That's what I love about Baylor. Oak State is not as balanced. They're 337 passing to 161. That's going to get them in trouble. They got to get better running. West Virginia, very balanced, 294 to 228, which makes that win even more impressive that Kansas beat them. Such a balanced offense. And then Kansas is balanced, throw for 212, run for 249. Jalen Daniels is their quarterback, and I believe he also runs. He's also one of these running type of quarterbacks. So in a team like Kansas, they need all the help they can get. Conference USA, they do not have an A team. Probably UTSA's an over, 38 and 37. Marshall, probably an A. I had them as an under, but they score 40 a game and give up 12. The first game, I think, was a Division II game. So we got to look. That's why I went under, because against Notre Dame, it was in the 20s. So I kind of said, well, they're probably more of an under than an A, because I don't know. The 40 this is where you got to watch the Division II games and take them out. But they have a strong defense, giving up 12, again, to a weak Notre Dame offense. North Texas is an over. Again, I have them as a W. See, again, they beat a nobody by a lot. And then when you take out that, they go from a over to a W. So they scored 33, but when you take out the Division II big game, and they're probably like a 10 and a 29. So again, you've got to be careful pulling out the Division II stats, because they will skew you, and you'll pick a team like you think North Texas is a strong offensive team, but they're not. So you've got to realize the Division II. Charlotte I have as the Z team with Reynolds out. Southern Miss is kind of a W. Balanced, we've got UAB 181, 236. North Texas. Now, even though they played in the Division II, it was extremely, look at this, 238, 238. So when I'm talking balance, passing, running, average per game, 238 each. Florida Atlantic, balanced, 298, 233. And Rice, as bad as they are, 206, 178. Sometimes the team's balanced, but they only get 150 apiece. Yeah, Southern Miss, now they played somebody, and it was all Frank Gore Jr. running, and so it's hard to play them. They score 17. Alabama, I lowered to a B because of their pathetic performance against Texas. Georgia's, of course, the Tennessee's an A. Kentucky's an A. Pardon me. Okay. Sarah, we'll redo. Okay, so Alabama's a B. Georgia's an A. Tennessee's an A. Kentucky's an A. Arkansas is an A. And that's it. I have Florida as an even. They scored 22, give up 26. Mississippi State's an over. They score 44, give up 20. Missouri's an over, 32 each. Auburn 33 and 16, but I question who they played. A&M is an under, 22 and 8. LSU 44-20. South Carolina 32-29. They have a weak defense. And Vandy, totally misleading numbers because they beat Hawaii. If you take away the Hawaii, they don't score. Balance, let's see. Ole Miss is the most balanced, 222, 249. Let's see. Arkansas, very balanced with Jefferson, 190. Like Missouri is 182, 209. Auburn is 190, 248. And Vanderbilt is balanced, but again, they're a weak balanced team. In the independents, BYU's an A team for beating my Baylor. Army's actually an over. They scored 33 and give up 39, played two really good teams. Notre Dame's an under, 15 a game, 23. Liberty's an under, and then the Z teams, New Mexico State and UMass. See, New Mexico State, 8 points a game, gives up 27. UMass, 10, gives up 48. Army, unbelievably, Army passes for 223 and runs for 191. That's unbelievable for Army. So pay attention to the change, because now they're an over team. They're not, I'm going to run the ball 52 times a game and never pass and chew the clock. So they are not an under team. because now they're throwing for 220 a game. Now they're more. Now they're an over team. Notre Dame, on the other hand, is a very low. They got 199 and 103. I mean, pathetic offense. 300 yards a game from Notre Dame. BYU 272, 199 balance. Liberty 203, 216 balance. So keep that in mind. So BYU, they get 471 a game. So that's very impressive. Sun Belt. Here you go, Sean. Coastal Carolina is an over team, not an A team, because of a little bit of defense, because Army lit them up. App State, you would think, is an over. They scored 39 and gave up 38 because of the North Carolina game. And then they played A&M tough. So they're kind of really an A, but right now they're playing over. Lou Lafayette, I was worried about them. 36 and give up 14. I give them a B team until they beat somebody. Georgia State, terrible. They scored 21, give up 35. James Madison's new. They got 53 a game and giving up 7. They're incredible if they're real. Let's see them against a real team. South Alabama's moved up to an A after killing Central 43 and give up 15. Jesus. See, South Alabama, that's why I keep this. I know their quarterback's Carter Bradley, and then they throw for 330 and run for 160. 500 yards offense, South Alabama. They got UCLA this week. Keep an eye on that because UCLA, the quarterback, Thompson Robinson, and the running back, Charbonnet, are both listed as questionable with, but not injured. It's not like a hamstring. It's like a personal. So I don't know what's going on there. If they play, this is strong over. The over-under on that game. Where's my CLA? I normally highlight them because they're only 59. UCLA is laying 15, over under 59. If Thompson Robinson and Charbonnet play, this is a strong. As soon as you find out and the line's still 59, jump on the over. That'll go way over with this team. South Alabama, lit off Central, but Central put up, UCLA will put up 50 by themselves. South Alabama probably getting the 30s. Probably could be a pretty interesting game. If Thompson Robinson doesn't play now, how good's the backup? And I don't know the backup. So you got to leave it alone if they don't. Hopefully they will play because they're going to need them against the South Alabama team. Texas State's an even, 27-25. Troy's an even, 24-22. And Georgia Southern, 52, and give up 24. There you go, Sean. Kyle Van Treese, I think was a Florida quarterback. They throw for 388 and run for 185. So they used to run the Army-Navy offense, which is running, 3 running backs and no receivers. All of a sudden, they got Kyle Van Treese, Todd Helton's the coach, and all of a sudden, they got 570 yards, and they played Nebraska. So this team's for real, Georgia Southern. Absolutely a good over team. Now, if we look at who we want them to play against, Georgia State gives up 35. Louisiana Monroe gives up 30. App State gives up 38. That game will go way over App State and Georgia Southern. So in conference, that's who you want to go against. MAC, 18. Where did I go? I hate that I scroll and it goes too far. 8 teams, Toledo, 46, give up 5. Now that they did play UMass in a Division II team. So we'll come back to them after they play normal teams. This is the only problem with college. They played a Division II team. They win 62-0, and then they play like a Z team. And you have no information on it except for, their quarterback's Finn. And even with this shit that they played, they throw for 190 and run for 230. So they're actually balanced, but they don't get a lot of offense but then they scored 46 points. So we don't know. A bunch of overs here. Kent State, Central, Eastern, Northern Illinois, Western Michigan, Buffalo's kind of the weak link. Miami of Ohio's pretty weak. Ball State, W, Ohio, W, Akron's the Z team. So I'm going to read you the defenses. All these teams have defenses over 30. Probably let's call it 35. Kent State, Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Northern Illinois, Western Michigan, Buffalo, Ball State, Ohio, Bowling Green, and Akron all have Z defenses over 35. With Bowling Green, I think they played UCLA, a 52. Ball State, a 44. I know they played Tennessee. Ohio, a 42. Central, a 48. They played Oak State. Eastern, a 41. So there you go. Now you got to get the right matchup. So Central against most of these teams in Kent. We got to see how Kent is. Kent's still balanced, but they're low. But again, they played Washington and Oklahoma, and they got Georgia next week. So Kent's out of their mind with the schedule. But we know what they are capable of. And when they start playing in the MAC, that's what you got to understand is they're an explosive team, but not against Georgia and Oklahoma. So that's the MAC, a bunch of terrible defenses except for Toledo, who hasn't played anybody. Mountain West, A-team, Air Force, and Fresno State, 33-21. And that's it. Your Z team, Utah State, scored 12, give up 36. They freaking New Mexico State, and they do that. Fresno State, good A, 33-21. Nevada, 34-27. Once they got the new coach and the new quarterback. Boise's a little surprising, 24 all. The usual under, 29-22. Colorado State, another Z team, scoring 13, giving up 42. So they're loaded with Z teams here. Utah State, Hawaii, Colorado State, and New Mexico, who's usually the Z team, is not. They scored 27 and gave up 15. So they found a defense, and they look good. I was watching a little bit of their game Saturday, and their defense held up pretty strong. San Jose State, I expect more out. They're an under team. So what you want is you want Central, Kent, Northern Illinois, or Bowling Green to play freaking the Z teams, or you want Air Force or Fresno to play the Z teams, which they will. Vegas, we're not sure on. They scored 33, give up 20, played a Division II team. Offensively, now here Nevada's balanced, but they only got 300 yards a game, so you can't count them. The same with Utah State. They're balanced, but again, 300 yards a game. Boise's balanced, 178. Again, 300 yards a game. So they got no offense here. Another balanced Wyoming and balanced New Mexico, 280 yards of offense. So your offensive teams are Air Force, but they don't get the turnovers as much with an Air Force, the interceptions. They're going to run 21, 369, 152. I love Hayner. And hands like Daniels, the quarterback for Air Force, is very good, but you're not going to get 300 yards a game out of him. But Hayner, definitely top 5 pick. Right up there with my Utah and my Miami guys. Pac-12, A-team, UCLA, Utah, USC. God, come on. I think when I'm doing the monitoring, it screws this file up. So A-team, UCLA, Utah, USC. B teams, Washington, Stanford, Oregon State. So they're close to an A team, 34-24. Oregon, I got as an over. They give up 31 a game. Arizona State, they're a pretty good defense, give up 18. Washington State, there you go. So here's where I found them. They scored 20 and give up 15. They're the best. UCLA is actually the best in the league with 12. They haven't played anybody. Washington State just played Wisconsin, 15. Cal at 13. Washington at 13. And they played my Kent State team. So you got some defense. This is where you got to be careful. Yeah, USC lights up, puts up 1,000 on Stanford. But now they've got to play Arizona State, Washington State, Cal, and Washington at this point, and UCLA and Utah are all under 20 points a game. So this is going to be very interesting to see really how strong Cal, Washington State, Washington, their defense is, and UCLA. If UCLA continues at 45-12, they'll beat USC, as will Utah. So balanced team. Now here's the difference. UCLA balanced 311 throwing 46 balanced versus UCLA, a real team, 311 245 balanced 550. Now this is why I'm so high on these teams. Utah 284 239, Oregon 257 202, Oregon State 256 178, USC 336 186. Arizona State 188, 199, and then you get a little bit of a passing frenzy. Stanford 270, 200, and that's it. So you've got 4 teams over 500 yards of offense: USC, UCLA, Utah, and Washington. Michael Penix is finally playing like we expected him to play last year at Indiana, who cost me a lot because he played like shit. So now this is what you can see. So when the Pac-12 plays the Mountain West, it's Lock City or the MAC conference. But that's what you're looking for. You're looking for UCLA against the MAC. That's why I locked them against Bowling Green, because I know I'm going to get 60 points from UCLA. But with the weaker teams, it's hard to know you get 60 points. AAC. Cincinnati, they're back to an A. SMU, they're an A right now. They're probably going to be an over. UCF is an A, but I'm leery of that. Tulane's an A, again, Division II. So you got 4 A's, but I don't buy it. So Tulane, 47-5. Well, the numbers say they're an A, but they played the Division II, and UCF played the Division II. SMU, no. And Cincinnati played Arkansas, so they're more like it. Houston scores 33, gives up 34. So we get that big game, Houston against – who was I talking about? You got Kansas, who scores 50 a game, and you got Houston, who scores 33 and gives up 34. And you tell me how do you play that game? And if you think Houston giving up 34 is the bet, you're crazy, because Kansas will score, but I love the over in the game. That's where the over screams out, right? Both teams kind of weak defenses. Both teams light it up. Both teams have good quarterbacks. That's exactly what you're looking for. You need the quarterbacks to get over. SMU, Mordecai from Oklahoma. Again, they get 515 in offense. That's no surprise. UCF has Plumlee from Mississippi, and now he's here, and he's a runner. That's why they're balanced. They pass for 220, run for 250. Tulane is balanced, 272, 185. Tulsa's balanced, 286, 178. Then you get South Florida. No, we don't. Tulsa. Who's this? No, I'll take that back. Tulsa's 391, 84. So East Carr and Tulane are the balanced offenses. South Florida has no offense, 196, 160. With Bohannon from Baylor. Goes from Baylor to South Florida. And they're an over team. They score 30 and give up 30, but you got a Division II. Navy's really probably should be a Z team, scoring 10, giving up 25. They'll be a Z when they give up 30. Temple, a Z team, scores 15, gives up 22. And then Connecticut, I'm making them a W because they score 20 and give up 27. So if you're Navy and you score 10 and give up 30, you're a Z team. So they're kind of on the cusp, again, the Division II. And here's the problem with Navy. They throw for 117, but they're only running for 200. Navy needs to run for 400 because they don't pass for. And then you look at Temple, 270 in offense. So if you're ever really looking, Here's Temple. They only get 270 yards of offense, and you look at SMU, you get 515, and Cincinnati 480, and USC 5.25, and UCLA 550, and here's Temple at 270. I mean, these guys double them in offense. This is why teams are weak, is they simply have no offense. Defense plays better when they know Brady can win the game for them. At the end, they want to win. At the end of the day, if they have Tom Brady, they're going to play their hearts out to get the ball back for him one more time to win. If you got Joe Brady, they don't give a shit. They just want to get off the field, and you're not going to win the game. So keep that in mind. All right, ACC, Wake Forest, 18. Miami of Florida, 18. NC State, 18. And let's see. I'm right at the cusp. Come on. Okay. All right. Wake Forest and 18. I apologize. Sometimes I don't scroll properly. Miami and 18. North Carolina State and 18. That's it. B teams Duke because they scored 30, give up 11. Syracuse scores 40, gives up 10. Clemson 38-11. Florida State 35-15. So they're on the bridge of being A teams. But I need to see Clemson beat somebody good. Syracuse, again, they're right there, but they're not NC State, Miami, and Wake. Wake, so probably not as strong, but they score a lot. Pitt, Slovis is injured. If he's not, they scored 32, give up. They're a great over. That's why I took them against Tennessee. So good over against good over with good quarterbacks. That's what determines the thing. The balanced team, North Carolina, 310 and 237. Miami, 280 and 240, which is good. They could run the ball. Florida State, 240, 270. So they're real balanced. Let's see. I got Syracuse, 270, 180, kind of balanced. And then here's Boston College. Here's their problem. They throw for 217 and run for 17. They get 230 yards of offense. This is why they stink right now. Georgia Tech, they're even worse. They're both probably Z team. Well, Georgia Tech's probably a Z team. I don't know where they got 22 points a game from. But they only get 290 yards on offense. Maybe it's special teams. Duke with Riley Leonard is balanced. They got almost 500 yards a game. And that's what you got to look at. You can't look at Duke as Duke. You look at Duke as, they throw 280, run for 200 for 481. And you got to look at Boston College, not as Boston College as 234, and Georgia Tech is 290. That's what you look at them as. You don't look at them as Georgia Tech, Boston College, Duke. You look at them as 230, 290, 480, just like you look at UCLA at 500 and Utah at 500, and now USC at 500. That's what you're looking at. That's why it changes every season, and you get that. So now let's look at Ohio State. I remember they were like 560 offenses, now 460, 297, 170. And I do not have them as an A team. I have them as a B team. Michigan, they play nobody as an A. Michigan State's an A, but Michigan State goes to Washington. Now we'll get a good view of what the hell is going on with Michigan State and Washington. It's a beautiful game to watch. You get a good feel. Nebraska, 36-31. They really suck. They play Northwestern tight. They lose to Georgia Southern. So their defense sucks. That's what's hurting them. A good team. Michigan gives up 8. Michigan State 6. Ohio State 11. Maryland, Maryland hasn't played anybody. Penn State 20. Minnesota 5. Wisconsin 8. And Iowa 6. That's the defensive teams, man. So some of these conferences, big offense. And some have big defenses. So in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa all play each other. Those are going to be lock-unders, especially Iowa and Wisconsin. Minnesota put up 50, but they played the Z team that first week. Beat them 38-0, but it was a terrible team. Illinois, 27-10. They got a defense. Indiana, 29-21. And Northwestern's now 27-29. So you really don't have a Z team. It used to be Illinois and Indiana, but it's It's not the balanced teams. Michigan 514, Michigan State 460, Nebraska 280, 204 for 492. They have the offense. Defense is their problem. Minnesota 280, 302. Very balanced offense. They got a good running back in Abraham or something like Abraham or something. Wisconsin is actually balanced 220. Iowa 180, 260. Is that no? That's Rutgers. Iowa gets 158 yards a game. They played South Dakota State. Jesus Christ, and Iowa State. Rutgers, 180, 260. So Rutgers is running the ball. Illinois is balanced, 215, 225. They got the Syracuse quarterback DeVito. And then the Northwestern, Indiana are more relying on passing. Northwestern's 520 a game. So very, very strong. Now if I can get to Georgia. Okay. Here's the difference, boys and girls. Georgia's an A team, scores 41, gives up one fucking point. How do they do that? They throw for 396, run for 130, and they get 525, and they give up 1 point a game. Alabama, conversely, is 37 and 10, but they are balanced this year, 240, 220 for 467. But Georgia throws, and you think Alabama's the throwing team. Georgia's throwing for 400, Alabama 240, and they run for 220. But that was a lot of young running for some reason, where Benson won't. You don't want him to. Hooker from Tennessee, you don't want to. Ole Miss is running the ball 220, 250. So when my problem, he only throws for 156. And they run for 210. They only get 365, and you go against Georgia. Georgia's going to get 525 on you. They're going to throw for 400. And Florida, what's Florida going to do? They're going to throw for 150, and they're going to get 0 yards running. I bet your son doesn't get 20 yards against Georgia. Jefferson maybe from Arkansas, but not really. But they're nice and balanced, 190, 260, and 480 from Old Mississippi State, which isn't surprising. But this is the difference. I'd like to see who number one is. It ain't Alabama. If they played Texas, I guarantee there's no way in hell that Texas would score on them. Right? They wouldn't score on Georgia, right? It would be maybe 3 or 6. That's it. You don't score on Georgia. They put up 19 on Alabama. That's the difference. And their offense, they would have been in the 40s. Georgia would have put up 40 on Texas. Okay, Sean Clay Helton, 650 yards, 410 passing, 240 quarterback named this. Transfer from Buffalo, 6-year senior. What was this? Georgia Southern, I think. Southern Alabama must be improved from last year. Well, they got a new quarterback, and that's helping them. Georgia Southern 3-9 last year, along of conference revenge games. A lot, yeah. Well, as I just showed you, they've went from this running team to a passing team, and that's huge. So there you have it. So you got to keep track of the A's and Z's and the balances when you're fishing for games. Like, okay, so the perfect example, we'll give this out. Kansas, Houston. There's our free pick. Over under a 62, take it over 56. That's absolutely a joke. Where's my marker so I don't forget? Over 56, Kansas, Houston. Now, superficially, you wouldn't think Kansas would get there, but when you look at what Kansas is doing and you look what they did to West Virginia, there's Houston doesn't have this is where it's all. If they're playing Georgia, you cannot touch Georgia over if nobody can score on them, right? They shut out Arkansas, as good as Arkansas is. They'll shut out Florida. They held Alabama. They're just, they killed Michigan, who was putting up 45 a game. you got to be careful of that playing it over. That's why I play so many Georgia unders, because I know they're gonna shut out whoever they're playing or maybe give up a touchdown. So if it's 56, then it's how many points will Georgia score? And if they're up 38-0, they're going to run the ball and run the clock and get the win. And you're not going to score in their defense. So that's why I tend to play Georgia under more than Georgia laying 20 points or so. But this year it could be a little different because they're scoring so much and they're so balanced, you might take it the other way. So that was a recap. Tomorrow we'll recap the pros. What a sick, well, I can quickly go through it, but as I stated, I laid away from Buffalo, LA, New Orleans, Atlanta. I took under, but again, not hard to pick. New England, Miami, about what I thought, an under, but I didn't play it. Frisco, Chicago, I took under. Had I known Trey Lance was the quarterback, I would have locked it under. He's as bad as Lawrence. I mean, he's terrible. Indy, Houston. I liked Indy there, but again, you don't play it because it's week one, and all of a sudden Mills. Ryan has to get used to his team like Russell Wilson has to get used to his team. So even though they're there, they got to get used to all timing and rhythm, and off of a bye and no preseason. These coaches got to get smarter than that. Indy gave away a game that they need because they didn't play Ryan in the preseason. He didn't get used to it. Cincinnati missed the extra point and then missed the field goal. Should have won the game. Trubowski looked okay. Trubisky, Burrow. Now, the interceptions are what I warn you against. It's the layoff, the bye a week before. Now, I know he knows Chase, and he hit Chase like 10 times. But that's, surprised to see Trubisky look so well. He won't look that well going forward. Baltimore and the Jets, Jackson played well. Flacco, I thought, played pretty well for him. I had it under. I didn't play Baltimore because I didn't trust Jackson. Philly, Detroit, I stay away from, and 38-35 wasn't that close. Again, you don't know what you're going to get with Detroit, just like in baseball. I mean, it could have been 10-7, and you wouldn't have been surprised. Although they were way down, and they come back at the end to lose by 3 to look good. Then they'll say, geez, we played 10 games. We only lost by a touchdown. Yeah, but you never had a chance. You were down 17. Cleveland, Carolina, no idea. Brissett, they're going to dominate the first few weeks. The defenses get tired. I'm sure that's what happened. Jacksonville, Washington. I don't know who's worse, Lawrence or Wentz. Lawrence looked terrible. I think they scored on a pick six or a fumble for a touchdown. Again, if you're relying on Lawrence, don't. The under pushed at 50. The over-under was 44. I had under. Oakland, San Diego, I stayed away. My friend wanted the Raiders over, and I talked him over. But week one, off of a bye and no training camp, you can't. It's 24-19 in a sloppy game. But Card did get used to Adams when they played college together, so look for them to get better. Green Bay, Minnesota, I had the over in this game. What the hell happened to Rodgers? He did it last year, the first week. You must get pissed off they don't have the training camp and he doesn't get it. So I don't know, but he doesn't show up. 23-7 is ridiculous. How do you hold Rodgers to 7? Again, week 4, this is over. So again, this is why you're very careful week 1. Giants beat Tennessee. No, a lot of Barkley. Jones wants to run, not pass. Tannehill, he sucks. 21-20, Giants. Was it a surprise? No. Tennessee looks terrible. They don't go to Henry. I love 3rd and 1. They don't give it to Henry. Like, nobody's stopping Henry. What, are you kidding me? Tannehill sucks. I didn't like his comment, like, well, I'm not going to help Willis. Like, no, it's not your job. And no, you don't want to help him because he might take your job. But you got to be a pro about it and be a man and help him out. Maybe when he's the starter, he'll help you out. KC, Arizona, Mahomes was Mahomes. One of the few where it was actually what should have happened. They blow them out and the over. Tampa, Dallas had the over there. Brady does win. Prescott sucks. He's out. Greer's starting. I would play Dallas under next week, depending on who they play. Tampa Bay kicked a lot of field goals, so they got, they're not ready. He lost. He misses Gronk in the red zone. So he's got to get the new. Julio Jones is now on Tampa. So Tom Brady goes, hey, who wants to play with me? Leonard Fournette comes on over. Hey, Julio, why don't you leave Tennessee? Julio Jones, for the last 5 years, had a pulled hamstring and only played like Sunday night football or Monday night football. Never on Sunday for 5 years. I got a pulled hamstring. Guess what? It's all healed. And with Tom Brady, you will not see Julio Jones with the pulled hamstring. If he does pull it, he'll play. So that's what Tom Brady does. And all of a sudden with Julio Jones. So look for a lot here. They won't miss Gronk. But again, they need 3 or 4 weeks to get going. But I definitely, Brady looked Brady. And Denver, Seattle, I tried to warn you. It looks so tempting. Now Russell Wilson, but he hasn't played with these guys. So Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan and a few of these other guys, Wentz, they moved to a different team. They don't have it yet down. They've got to work. It's the biggest problem the coaches do is they don't play them in preseason like a whole half. These guys, especially in 3 games, should be playing the first quarter of the first game, half the second game, and maybe 3/4 of the third game. Now I'm ready. If they get hurt, they get hurt. Prescott got hurt. So what was the point of having him play like shit, sitting out so he doesn't get hurt, and then he gets hurt on a play that could happen anytime? This is football. You need shape. You need them in game shape, and you need them balanced and in rhythm with the receivers. You cannot sit there and maybe these guys, it's like baseball. Well, you can only pitch 100 pitches. That's it. No more. What the hell is wrong with these? I'm afraid of injury. What is that? Afraid of injury. What are you talking about? Afraid of injury? This is a car driver. Well, let's only go 55 because we're afraid of an accident. Then don't fucking do it. If you're worried about injury, this is why I bitch about the college players who sit out the bowl game. They sit out the bowl game because they don't want to get injured. Well, why aren't you sitting? So why did the Ohio State players play against Notre Dame? They could have gotten injured. But in the bowl game, if it comes, they won't play because they don't want to get injured. Well, why'd you play the Notre Dame game? Or why do you play against Michigan or Michigan State? You might get injured. They're hard. They might hurt you. They might hit you hard. It's the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard in my life. We don't want to get hurt. I'm telling you, these GMs are sucking the pros. They don't have any idea. This will be interesting. So, did I learn anything? No, I wasn't expecting to learn anything. Teams off a loss that'll probably pay better. LA. Cincinnati, Green Bay. That's about it. Those teams will probably play better off of a loss. Nobody else has any talent to play better off of a loss. Well, Tennessee, you're going to bet Tennessee because they lost. You lose to the Giants, you're not a good team. Dallas got killed. Seattle beats Denver. Seattle looked fine. It's Coach Pete there. Coach Pete won him the game. Denver's coach, Hackett, was terrible. McCarthy cost Dallas the game. I don't like Arizona's coach. He thinks he's at Texas Tech waiting to play Baylor or something. How the hell did the Giants beat Tennessee? That's ridiculous. Green Bay's coach sucks. McDaniels, well, we know I'm not betting on him. Peterson at Jacksonville, they look like shit. Carolina, I mean, how did they lose that game? Detroit, they don't have a coach. He sucks. The Jets don't have a coach. I mean, they're pretty weak. Pittsburgh, you got to like the coach there. He won them the game, but really the missed extra point. They should have won 21-20. I had Cincinnati even, so that hurt. into Houston. How does Houston get way up on them with Mills? I mean, again, Ryan is not really that good, and he's got to get used to his team. So you got to let Ryan come into it, but Indy's not very good. See, the moral of the story is there's maybe 3 or 4 teams who can win as a favorite. Maybe Buffalo, maybe the Rams, Cincinnati normally, San Diego, maybe Green Bay, maybe Kansas City, Tampa Bay. That's about it. There's 5 or anybody else, you tease the dog. It's such a tease the dog because the league sucks. There's half the Georgia would beat, I'd say, 3/4 of these teams. I could be, oh no, they wouldn't. It's college, but bullshit. They put 10 defensive players in the first 2 rounds last year. You telling me they're just as strong this year? Georgia would beat half the league. They might not be able to beat Jacksonville because their best player is on Jacksonville, but I mean they could beat the Giants, Tennessee, Dallas, Denver, Cleveland, Carolina, Philly, the Jets, Houston, Chicago, Frisco, New England, Atlanta. I mean, Georgia beat 3/4 of the NFL. Better offense, better coach. That's the sad part, right? We have Georgia. This is why we do better in college. Not that we do better, but college is so much. College, boom, boom, boom. I already, I can look at the game. I already know pretty much. Check the injury, who I'm betting. In the pros, my God. I mean, what could you have gotten right there? Maybe, what could I have gotten right? Had I known Lance was playing, definitely locked the under there. You couldn't have taken Houston. You couldn't have taken Pittsburgh. Maybe Baltimore. My one friend did take the Pennsylvania. He won Pitt and Philly. If he teased Philly, Cleveland, Carolina, who knows? Jacksonville, Washington, who knows? Giants, Tennessee, So there's a bunch of bad teams, unfortunately. So that's what we need to work out. So we need 2 more weeks in the pros just to learn the teams. Right now, we have a decent understanding from last year, but the Matt Ryans and the Russell Wilsons, we don't really know what they're doing this year yet. We got to get a better flavor of those. But college we got. So your first free pick, and I'll have a free pick. I'll have the second free pick once I study. But we're going to go Kansas, Houston. We're going to go over in that game. That's our first free pick. And just looking at the board. So if I look at the board superficially, my Z teams, I've got Colorado against Minnesota. Colorado's the Z. Minnie's laying 28. New Mexico State, Wisconsin. See, here's where I have a problem. Wisconsin's laying 38. They can't score 38. Then I got Washington State, Colorado State, 16. Washington State, they'll probably get 16 on Colorado State. Akron, Tennessee. Is it Tennessee? Fuck, Tennessee gets Akron too? They're laying 48. They'll have that covered by halftime. Tennessee's the type of team that scores a lot. They'll cover that. See, that's who you want to lay 48 with is Tennessee. Charlotte plays Georgia State. I got them both the Z teams, again, with Reynolds out. So if Reynolds plays, is Georgia State? Don't we like Georgia State? No, it's Georgia Southern. Georgia State can score, but I still have them as a Z for some reason. And then UTEP, New Mexico. Again, not only that, this is weird, is the Z team is actually favored over New Mexico. I don't think UTEP's really the normal Z team, and New Mexico is a really strong under team, so this is curious. Miami's a dog to A&M. Thank you, Lord. USC, Fresno State. You want USC laying 13. I got a better pick for you than that. Clemson, 34 over LTech. I don't know about that. Georgia, South Carolina, 24 and 52. 18 or go under 58. Baylor, Texas State. State, Ohio, UCLA. Now, UCLA, South Alabama. If the players for UCLA, Thompson Robinson and Chardonnay both play, this is an over. If they don't play, we got to see where the line moves. So keep it. If you see the line 59 go to 60 on game day, they're playing. If you see the line go down to 56, they're probably out and adjust accordingly. This is the only time I use the line is the information I might not see, but the line will tell me. And then that's what I use it for. Anyway, so that's it. That's the recap. We'll get into, I got to study week 3, pros. And, week 1, it's a bad guys haven't played and they're off a bye. Week 2, they're get this game, get the timing down, and then week 3, I think you're a little bit more. Anyway, saying it's funny, some of these pro bettors saying don't play teasers in college. Well, probably the same guys that say don't buy gold. The reason they say don't play teasers in college because college scores tend to be third. If you got Michigan X, but the spread went to 52. It all depends, but because there's large scores at USC, you didn't need the teaser against Stanford, but it sure made a big difference. It was a lock because I only had to lay 2.5, 3 in the bet with Arkansas. Well, without a teaser, could I have bet Arkansas went to 9? That would have been a hard bet to lay 9 and USC lay 9. But in a teaser, I laid 1 with Arkansas because I caught it Monday, and then I laid 2.5, 3 with USC. That's a monster bet. I can bet a ton on that, and I did, versus having to lay 8 and 9. Maybe in the big games when, the Michigan State 52-0, you don't need the teaser, but you don't know it till after the game's over. You go, oh, I didn't need the teaser. We're in the pros. Are you kidding me? If Cincinnati kicks the extra point, you needed a teaser there. But you didn't need a teaser because Pitt won the game, and into Houston, you didn't need a teaser. And all these other games, you didn't need a teaser. The Bears beat the 49ers. You didn't need the teaser. KC won by 20. Tampa wins easy. None of those games you needed the teaser. You needed them more in college and to get the line down to where you want it. That's the whole difference. So they say, it's like the people that say, I go. And I opened the show with showing you Japan has gone bankrupt. China's in a housing crisis, and they're going bankrupt. And I talked to some guy at the hot tub, and he was talking China up. Oh, they're good. They're a communist country. And I'm like, communist countries do not know how to do economics. And he was saying they're the best economy in the world. I go, are you kidding? The housing market's is in crisis. They're in huge debt. I go, did you hear about Evergrande? And he's like, what's that? So you're going to question me about economics, and you don't even know Evergrande is the leading housing developer in China going bankrupt because they can't sell houses, put all this money into it, nobody's there to buy it, and they just collect 20 of their properties. So you're going to make that comment, but you don't even know who Evergrande is. You never heard of them. That's how I am in football. It's the same way I am in poker, and that's why we win and everybody else has a hard time, because I'm looking at everything, and I don't just blindly look at numbers. I remember Nick would do that. Let's do formulas. I go, formulas don't work here. Formulas will never work in football. football, emotion, too many variables off of a loss. How are you going to put that in a formula? The Raiders beat Miami in the 74 playoff game. Now they play Pitt. Okay, give me a line on that one. How are you going to put in the emotion of Oakland beating Miami in the last play of the game and now playing Pitt? Give me a freaking line. You can't. I think they were maybe 2 or 3 point favorites in the game. I don't remember. But how do you put that in? You can't. It's ridiculous. Anyway, with that, I am off. I'm off to the pool. And then I need to study the college, which I pretty have a good idea. Really, now it's just checking injuries. I've just gone through all the stats with you. I've updated who's who. And then mentally, I know they play Division II teams. They're really not that strong. And I have that whole Division II list, which I showed you here. So I'm keeping track right in the middle of the Division II. So I'm saying, for instance, UAB won 59-0 against Division II. Now I got to subtract that out and put it in Division I, and they lost to Liberty. So are they 59-0? No, because they played it. So I got to wipe the 59-0 off. So UAB's 27-29. They're an E team, not an over team, because that was Division II. So you got to pull that out. So I make a note of that. Thank you, Sean. Yes, I am. I've got it down to a real art. Been doing it for 100 years, like a balanced offense. Like the Z defense, like the strong defense. I don't want to do a strong defense. I want to take the strong defense. I want to bet into a weak defense with an explosive team. Nobody else knows that. Nobody else can understand that at my level. But I figured it out, and that's really the key to it. That's a big key, is betting against the weak teams and getting a strong team to do it with. So, but that's what I teach here, and that's what you guys got to pick that up. You got to look at it, and you got to throw out those Division II games. So, anyway, www.teaserking.com. You can sign up. A lot of guys buying the year because it's really $650 if you're if you used to pay if you used to be a customer in the previous years. $650 buys you all the games through the Super Bowl. It's usually like $1,100, but with all this inflation, and I understand it better than anybody, I gotta give a break, and then you can go buy gold and silver. That's more important to me. So do that. Again, www.teaserking.com. If you want, email me when I'm not here, and we can talk. Sean, I think you have, so then you can ask some questions, and we can work on a package or whatever. All right, everybody, have a great night. I will probably see you tomorrow with the pros. Tomorrow is what, Wednesday? Yeah. And then the college picks on Thursday, and the picks Friday. And I'll see, I don't know, San Diego, KC, laying 3.5, 54. It's still hard. Although I do have a stat on San Diego. They're 24-2 as a road dog, so might be playing San Diego. See, everybody looks at KC. They look good against Arizona, and they skew their whole mindset. They think, oh, they're going to beat every team 44-21, and it just doesn't happen. That's the keys. The different teams are different fundamentally. San Diego, much better defense with Boza, good offense. They will keep. But I know San Diego plays them really tough. But that's what we're looking at. Seattle, strong road dog. But that's with Russell Wilson. Are they going to be the same? They looked okay yesterday. Arizona, strong road dog. Cincinnati, a strong road dog. Green Bay is the trend against Chicago. And how pissed is Rodgers going to be? So this is what we got to see. So we really want to wait a few weeks on Rodgers till he starts lighting it up. Then we say, okay, he's okay. We can bet on him. Because at first he's not okay, and there's problems with the receivers. And until he works it out, we don't know when that's going to happen. I don't want to bet on that. I have more fun betting on the college. It's funny, the college, they start right up, and they're fine, and they blow you out. Pros, it's such pampering. It's ridiculous. All right, everybody, www.teaserking.com. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Again, go there and certainly send me an email. I won my 5-teamer with Alex last week. We played the 5 locks. They won. I get 20%. He'll send it to me tomorrow on PayPal. And so he made 80% on my 5 picks. So if you want to do something like that, please do. Just email me, and it won't cost you unless we win. But I do expect a print screen. Here's our bet, and then I expect to be professional. Where, all right, we win $1,000. I owe you $200, and you send it to me. Tuesday, Wednesday. I expect that, and then we can go ahead. But finding a 5-team teaser for me is a piece of cake. So anyway, have a nice night. I'm off to the pool.